What's up, banana bunch? Bunch? Bunch?
Welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. What's up, Banana Bunch? You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. Welcome back. Hey, you know what? Great news. I've been asking for a while to get enough reviews on Apple Podcasts in order to make sure we broke 100, and guess what? We did, and we had a huge influx, so we're actually at almost 110 interviews. We're probably more than 110 interviews now. But I think we hit 109 reviews now, so thank you all so much. Seriously, I know I've been begging it forever. So that means, great news for all of us, 200 reviews is the next goal. So if you are new to the show, first off, welcome. But secondly, I'd love it when you're done listening, get on Apple Podcasts and give me a review of the show. I'd love to know what you think about it. And as always, you can reach out to me directly at podcast@junglegyms.com if you got some questions about Jungle Gyms, or don't email me questions about stock. There's plenty of better ways to do that. But if you have something you want to see on the show, let me know. I would love to interact with all of you. We're trying to become friends. We're literally hanging out in the Banana Bunch. So this week we've got some fun stuff. We're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the Eastgate store being a thing. I'm really excited to do that. And so we've got some coverage of that coming up over the next few weeks. And up first, I sit down with our Director of Development, Phill, to talk all about that. It's a really great interview. He's got all kinds of great stories. And you know what? I'll leave some links if you want to watch some behind the scenes videos of the store and its inception and all that kind of stuff if you want to catch up on what's been going on over there for the last 10 years. Later, I'm joined by local folk band St. Mary, St. Michael. They're going to make some salsa with us and teach us how to make it. And then we're going to sit down and listen to some music from them. But up first, I'm hanging out in International today because we've done a bunch of expanding here. There's all kinds of fun stuff. And I found some new products like this soursop drink. I wonder if it's any good. I know we're going to have Phill on the show here in a little bit to talk about our expansion and things of that nature, but I like to walk the store a lot to come up with either new bits for the show or to find new products. And thanks to some of the expansion and the rearrangement of the international department, I've been finding all kinds of new things. And I think you all know I love beverages. And I found this brand called Oh Fresh. They're out of Vietnam and we carry them here in the store. They're distributed by a company in North Carolina, but I was really curious about these and they come in a ton of flavors. You're probably looking at the close-ups of the can as I'm talking right now, blah, blah. But I brought soursop or guanabana, as well as, and every time I say that, I just think of that Muppets, guanabana, it's stuck in your head forever now, and lychee. You know, they had some things like mango and other recognizable fruits, and there are a few other strange ones, but I thought these would be fun. So I was curious about these because I was like, oh, well, are they carbonated or are they just regular drinks? So we're going to try them here together in hopes that maybe you'll come in and try them as well. So a lot of you don't know much about the soursop. If you, again, or guanabana, depending on how you've heard of it. The first time I ever tried it, weirdly, was at a yogurt place, and it reminded me of, let's crack that can. It reminded me of a little bit pineapple, but mostly almost like if you've ever had like strawberry banana flavored things, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit with notes of pineapple. So I get a little smell here. Yeah, we get some of those same tropically notes. Let's give this a try and see how this is. Hopefully it's good. If not, well, I guess it's getting cut short. Well, first off, it's not carbonated. Whoa. Oh, there it is right in the can. Made with real pulp. Ooh, that's a thick, juicy boy. All right. I am really into this, and just taking a look at the back. Not a lot to it. Water, soursop juice, soursop pulp, cane sugar, salt, citric acid, ascorbic acid, is that how you pronounce it? Sodium citrate, natural flavor. This is amazing, and I think the way I described it is great. It reminds me, really, again, I always go back to the taste of strawberry banana yogurt. That's really what what soursop reminds me of, with just a bit of pineapple in there. This is delicious. It actually tastes better than it smells. It smells good. It almost smells like a bit of, it's almost a bit of like a beer scent. That could be the can too, which is why I typically wash off my can lids before I drink it, because I'm a crazy person. Or am I a safe person? All right, soursop, I'm giving you a 9 out of 10 on that one. I love that. Let's try the lychee. Lychee, I love lychee already, so this is probably an easy one for me, but Let's see. We're just going to try it together. And then I want all of you to come in and try the other flavors. And if you come in and try one of these and you like it, come by the studio while you're visiting. And, well, we can toast cans together. So we're going lychee now. If you don't remember, you can check out a taste test. It was one of the first videos I made here in like my first week on the job before I knew what the podcast was really going to look like. And I tried rambutan or rambutan, or depending on who you ask, which is like the cousin fruit of lychee. I love lychee. It's got a, oh yeah. I don't know how to describe the smell. It's sweet. It's slightly floral. But the thing I think about lychee all the time is that I think American candies have been using lychee to flavor things like gummy bears and other gummy candies. And I have this whole theory, and I'll figure, I don't know how to explore this properly yet, but I'd love to do it with you all, is that I think American candy purveyors use these international fruit flavors as a means of kind of tricking us, right? So I'm willing to bet there's some similarities. So let's try the lychee next. That is deliciously accurate. Oh my gosh, that's good. And same thing in the ingredients. Lychee juice, lychee pulp, cane sugar, citric acid, the sodium citrate, all that fun stuff, natural flavor. These are really, really good. Oh my gosh. All right, so if you are looking for, let's take a look at the serving size. Good amount of sugar in there, so heads up on that, but it is cane sugar, so it's at least like, quote, good sugar, however that works out. Wow, these are awesome. So when it comes to trying these, lychee, it may be kind of exotic to you. It's less exotic to me. It shows up in like, I'm always getting lychee things in my bubble tea and things of that nature. And I eat a lot of Asian food, so it shows up frequently enough, at least in some adjacent form. Soursop's a little less common, so I would say soursop might taste more familiar to the American palate immediately, but I would encourage you to try both of these or try any of the flavors. Now that I know how good these two are, I knew, I'm a big mango fan, so I knew the mango one would be good, but these are, as 10-year-old influencer Noah would say, these are bussin'. But for real, come in and try these. These are really, really, really good. And stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to try and find things like this more commonly on the show, and we can try new stuff together. Sound good? Great. What do you know? That product was delicious. Surprise, I still have great taste. Come in and check some of that stuff out. And if there's something in the store that you love that you think I should be aware of and should talk about on the show, shoot me an email at podcast@junglegyms.com or call my hotline 513-674-6855 and leave me a voicemail. Now, coming up, we're about to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Eastgate store, the second location of Jungle Gym's International Market. So I thought it'd be fun to kick off this coverage by sitting down once again with one of your favorites on the show, our Director of Development, Phill, to tell you all about the inception of our second store. Take it away, Phill, or me, whoever talks first. This is one of your favorite guests, judging from the emails I've received about this. And I'm excited to bring him back because we are nearing the 10-year anniversary of our Eastgate location. Welcome back, Director of Development for Jungle Gyms, Phill. What's up, Phill?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks.
Good. How are you doing, by the way? I know we haven't been able to do this for a little while.
I'm doing better. I for those that don't know, I broke my leg.
Oof.
Back on Easter, and I split the tibia a long ways down.
Oh, good.
So I haven't been able to walk. So I haven't been able to get down to the floor down here.
Yeah.
So
well,
able to get to my office because I have an elevator, but the struggle was limping up here.
Well, you did keep making those strange requests that you wanted to be carried by chariot or something, and I was like willing, but not necessarily able. No. But I'm glad you're able to come down
thanks.
here.
People ask, when are you going to be able to walk without crutches? I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, when am I going to be on the Segway?
I'm waiting to hear that beeping roll by. I always loved it.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's hard to walk this store on a limp.
I
like
bet,
that.
yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine. I'm sorry, truly. But I'm glad you're doing a little bit better at least.
Yeah, I watched all 8 billion videos on YouTube during this.
There's like 8 billion uploaded every like 6 minutes or something like that right now too. You're like, there's too much content. So hopefully people find this. No, all kidding aside, like I said, obviously we're coming to the 10-year anniversary of Eastgate, but I thought before we dove into that, got anything? Look, we're working. I've mentioned it briefly here. We've got a little expansion action happening in Fairfield, right?
Yes.
Is there anything you can tease the audience with on that?
So most of you know we expanded the front, and that was part of the expansion in the back. We needed to move pets, cookware, and toys out of the store into the front so that we gave International more space, with the thought that we would still need to give International more space. So with that, with the moving the departments, we gave them 12,000 square feet. Now we're adding another 12,000 square feet on the back of the store.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So on top of the square footage that they already have, but a good portion of it's going to go to seafood.
Okay.
And a couple of other areas, but the majority of it is for international. It's a big expansion. So
It's been really cool to see how they've already utilized the existing space. You know,
Right.
with like, I think the first one I really noticed was the expansion of it's now truly a world of ramen back there. Yesterday I was just walking the store, so we added like a lot of space for like the Hawaiian and Malaysian foods.
Right.
And I know in the past we talked about the Nepali food last
Right.
year. That was a big thing. It's really cool to see. I'm excited about it.
The Asian section is one of the biggest categories as a company. So we moved the rice and moved the Chinese around and the ramen and all different. They were able to add more categories that we didn't have. Some of the cookware, health and beauty area items for that category.
I did one of the masks on the show last week, actually.
And Nepali was moved over into there with the understanding it's going to move again into the new expansion.
Sure.
So we're getting a little bit more organized. It just came out of the meeting for the back
cool.
expansion. So it's going to take a while. The problem is just getting products and people to build.
Sure.
It's just a struggle. So.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that nothing has really let up since 2020, right?
Unbelievable. Shelving, I can't believe how far out. Some of the shelving companies are a year out before they'll tell us when they can ship.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I guess I don't want to say it makes sense. It makes sense in that everything seems to just be burning all the
Must
time.
be really busy out there. Yeah, but
Too much expansion happening everywhere else. As soon as
Exactly.
we try to get in, come on, what were we
Let's
thinking?
go.
Well, I'm excited about that too. And I guess maybe I should ask, is anything going on at Eastgate in the same way? Or?
Oh yeah, Eastgate, they are expanding as well. We put a small freezer in for the international side. We knew going into that project that the back rooms were a struggle. Most of that, we bought the whole mall and then some.
Right.
And then, so when we designed the store, we knew the back rooms were small. They were designed like a traditional grocery store. 10% of the space is their back room. Well, that doesn't work well for us.
Sure.
Because of the way we have to buy most of the international products. So there was not a lot of space for frozen items to be stored at that location. So we're looking at adding another freezer on the back side of it for, maybe a couple hundred pallets of frozen goods.
I'll take that. That'd be great.
Yeah, we only have 50 now, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much, and it's funny now, I'm thinking back even just like a year ago when we were first starting to hang out on the show occasionally, where I'm like, none of that would have made sense to me. And
Right.
now, and I'm hoping that's the same
Now
for
you
all
know
of
what a
out
pallet
there.
is.
Right,
Whoa.
exactly. And I can kind of get an idea of the sense and scale, and hopefully I've communicated that effectively. You
That's a
communicated
lot.
to me through the show. And so now I feel like we've educated the audience as well.
Right.
So thanks for that, Phil.
It's a lot of frozen product.
Well, talk to me then about, and I got to give I want to shout this out because Phil is, look at you, put it out there.
Put out my notes.
Yeah, a lot of guests don't write notes like that, and I am so appreciative of it. It means that you cared enough to do that. So thank you, seriously.
You're welcome.
But I thought, just tell me the story of Eastgate. Like, I know we talked in passing a little bit about it, but how did this all go down?
So many people knew we were looking for a second location for a long time, and I wrote down some of the places. Lebanon was one we were looking at really hard.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
up on 42 where the old Walmart next to the YMCA.
Yeah? That seems like that would have been a cool
That was
location.
awesome. The highway went right into the
Oh my
parking
gosh, I
lot.
can't even imagine that. Yeah.
Home Depot was next door, and there was 22 acres behind it, so it was a perfect fit. And it turned out that my middle daughter tore ACL, so the day I was supposed to go meet with the city officials, I don't even remember who it was, I had to cancel because I had to take her back to Beacon.
Right.
And
Today's episode is brought to you by Beacon Orthopedics. Beacon
Exactly.
Orthopedics.
And so that got canceled. And then in between that time of scheduling the next appointment, Jungle brought up the conversation. Hey, why don't you check to see if there's a alcohol license available for that location? Called the alcohol lawyers. Turned out there wasn't. So we had to drop that. And it had been voted down twice. And I guess that's why Walmart had moved.
Oh, yeah,
So
makes sense.
we were not into that. Some of the other locations, Hyde Park, Austin Landing, Dayton, a lot of spaces in Dayton. Dayton was very appealing because of the Air Force Base.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Harper's Point,
Oh, wow. That would have been cool, too.
Yeah.
I mean, every location you're saying, I'm just going to do the gas noise at probably. You mentioned Dayton before you keep going. I get emails really frequently about Dayton as a place. And I've had people go very detailed on location and things of that nature.
Me too. I get them all the time.
Yeah. I feel like you feel it even more. But it's just interesting to me that, like... I don't know what I said here that someone thinks I have that kind of authority. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll build you a store.
Dayton Mall, quite a few spots in there. There's a spot where 675 and 75 used to be a Walmart. I think it's Menards now.
Yeah.
We looked at that pretty hard, but they wanted crazy money for that space.
Well, that area seemed to be kind of on the come up in the last.
And when I was in the Army,
decade.
I was assigned to a unit up there, so
yeah,
I like Dayton a lot. Northern Kentucky, we looked at quite a few spaces there.
Really? That's the other location I get the most emails about.
Right across from Turfway Park, which is now a Dick's.
Yeah.
Was it HQ, I think?
Yeah.
We were trying to bid on that. We did lose the bid, obviously. But then we found out later that your alcohol can't be part of the store, and it just didn't work out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because
anyway.
Kentucky has the separate liquor agency. Yeah.
So we looked at Louisville as well. And then Jeffersonville, after we realized the same law applied in Louisville. Jeffersonville at the old Bigs down there.
Cool.
Columbus, Ohio, so many places. And then obviously we get a lot of email requests from cities and municipalities and, build here. We had, I remember 5-6 years ago, out in Seattle, they wanted us really bad. Boeing, obviously, in that area brings in a lot of different groups. So, but yeah, that's just a small list. I mean, we still get
it's like the highlights.
Please build here, and even after we built Eastgate, we were more than casually looking at the west side of Indianapolis with the town of Speedway in 465, where that merges. Now there's an Aldi there, which would have been great because my youngest daughter teaches in Brownsburg out there now.
Oh, cool.
I know. That would have been awesome.
And also congratulations to her.
Yeah. Good job, Julie.
Oh, that's amazing. Another one I always hear about too. I feel like, so I'm always, and it's because I live in Northern Kentucky. I think I get a lot of those. Dayton, obviously, but I think I just know a good amount of people there. But I hear a lot about Denver, Colorado too. That is one that everybody always mentions to me.
Really? I've never had one.
And I'm surprised. I was wondering if you'd say that or not. And I get it a lot. I have, where I get it more than occasionally emails, but I get it in the store a lot. Huh. People will just be walking through, they're like, where you should have one. And it's now almost become like my own little game to myself. I'm like, I bet they're going to say Denver, and always Denver. And I'm guessing because it's such a big tourist area.
Well, it's got a big hub with the airline.
Right. And you do get a decent bit of international traffic there.
Right.
And I joke all the time that Denver is secretly just 5,000 foot elevation Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
It's weird. Every time I'm out there, I'm like, it's like kind of the same town. And then, except there's a mountain range a few miles away,
So I've been working with the entrepreneurial class at Miami University this week. And they're touring, and then they do projects, for the store as part of their class. And it's neat to hear where they're from and their perspective and different ideas. That's really cool.
Oh, any fun thoughts or ideas coming up this time?
They're
still in the cooking process? Okay.
They're still we're still going through some of the virtual meetings.
That's cool. I saw you doing one of the tours the other day, so I was like, did we get ideas in?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Those are cool. So last year was really cool, so I can't wait to hear this year's.
Oh, that'll be exciting. So. We should do a follow-up after the fact.
Yeah.
And see
Good idea.
Do like a top 10 list or something like that. That'd be cool.
That'd be great. I'll take notes.
Oh, so ultimately, what after checking out all these places, what was the big draw for the Eastgate area?
Actually, Ken Geis sent us a letter, and it was handed to me, and we had just bowed out of the Lebanon, so I was very frustrated. Yeah. And I read it and I threw it away. and
a spicy Phill moment.
I was like, we're never going to do another store. And so right before he took out the trash, I grabbed it and I saved it. And then a couple weeks later, I called Ken Geis from Union Township, and I said, hey, are you still interested? Jungo and I were talking, and he's like, yeah. And so he came out and met with us, and we talked about it, and it really started to form very quickly from that conversation. Then I toured the facility, and a couple weeks later had the family come out and tour it when we were very serious, and everyone was on board. prior to that, it felt too close. It's only 30 minutes apart.
Right.
But a lot of people do not go to both. Even if they live in the middle, they pick one or the other.
It's very interesting. I didn't realize that was a thing until I really came here.
Bud Light,
Yeah, right.
Whoa.
But I get that all the time where some people are like, I've had a lot of friends who are kind of like in the middle, or Northern Kentucky people like me. They're like, oh, you're at the Fairfield one? Well, I do the Eastgate one. Or, oh, you're at the Fairfield one? Cool. I only go to the Fairfield one.
Wherever I go, which store do you work at? I work at both.
Right, exactly.
Whoa,
You're like, I'm an equal opportunity employee.
So, and it's interesting to follow the social media, all the different, it doesn't matter which stream it is, what it is, what socials. People are it's always the same. Which one do you like the best?
Yeah.
And they all have their own reasoning. And what I found is most people tend to go to Eastgate because they like the flow.
Okay.
It's an easier shop for them.
Yeah.
Which we learned a lot from this store. This store, we added on as we had money and property.
Right.
And over there was one big mall that was basically empty with a few tenants left, and started over. And
I think it makes, in a weird way, it was probably, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but probably a little easier to use because the main area was a Biggs, right?
It was a Biggs, which if you don't know what a Biggs is, they were the first hypermarket in the USA. They came in out of France, and they combined the groceries and your home goods and whatever else. So it was a big space, but at that same point, it was too small for our store.
Sure.
So there was one nail salon that was still inside the mall. We worked with her to move to an outside space, which worked out great for them.
That's awesome.
And it helped us build this flow.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Because I hear that a lot too, and I always, in my head, I'm like, well, maybe it's because it had like an existing layout that we could bring our funk to, and I didn't know.
Yeah. One of the issues was the ceiling height was the same in that store.
Right.
And at Fairfield, you have all these different ceiling heights, so when you transition through them, you feel like you're going into a different experience. Over there, you don't have that same feeling. So we had to hang stuff and start, jungleizing it, if you will.
Yeah.
Putting up different art, buses and
We like the drone
drones,
back there. Yeah, I
yeah.
love that. That thing is so cool.
yeah, it really is.
Well, and I remember you telling me forever ago, and I love telling people this now too, is about the color-coded ceilings.
Yes, I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, I love
that
it.
helps a lot, and most people don't even realize it. But it's that same transition that you would have here with the ceilings changing. Over there, it's the ceiling colors changing colors.
It's really cool to me because once you told me, and then I saw it, I had two experiences. The first time I was like, how did I miss this? But then every other time I've gone, I don't really pay attention to it, but there is something in my peripheral vision that like you can feel whatever that changes in a weird way. And it's like, it's such a subtle thing.
It's like the sun when
Right.
it goes in and out of a cloud.
I'm in the sunset department.
If you're not sure what he's talking about, we color coded the departments with their own special color for ceiling, so it's easier for people to navigate the store. It's on the maps as well.
I thought that was cool.
So I guess the next thing is, flashing back 12 years ago when we started looking at this store, we talked about doing a store for so long, and then as we were starting to move forward and going through the purchase and starting to do the demo, our company was in denial. Even before that, we announced it. There was a Facebook page that was put together by Greg Trainer, I think his name was, a realtor in that area, trying to convince us to go to Eastgate. Well, I was following the thing the whole time, and I'm just adding to the fire. We'll never go there. What are you guys talking about?
That's amazing.
They had thousands of people. It was great. People just bantering back and forth about why we should be. And then the mall across the street was empty. And that's a beautiful mall now. And then, a couple of things, Ken Geis, obviously from Union Township, was the main reason we went there. We wanted a vested community. We wanted a community that wasn't just going to help us and then walk away.
Right.
They helped us get Route 32, the interchange, the tunnel and everything. The traffic flows very well around there.
Absolutely.
I got to cut the ribbon and make a speech for the highway. What do you say? It was cool, but thanks to the steel build,
Right, exactly. to all of the asphalt out there.
It was awesome. I kept the ribbons, but the whole area changed, and it didn't happen overnight, but it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
I kept asking before we opened, what are all these other people going to do when all these people show up? Because it was a very sad area at that time.
Yeah, it was quiet.
It was
I think
very
was the,
quiet.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
was the word I was thinking
And
of.
it needed a lot of freshening up, and
Right.
it happened. It was really cool.
Yeah, 'cause
And
I
it
feel like
didn't take long.
I felt like at the time, the only thing I think otherwise out there that was still a thing was like maybe Sam's Club. Does that sound
Yeah,
right?
they're next door.
And they're down a little ways. But I remember thinking back then, and when you guys were first going in there, it was just the casual. And I still don't really know what I'm doing. But even back then, I definitely didn't know. I was like, oh, I'm surprised they're going over there. But then I kept thinking, I was like, well, you kind of hit like, not that this is the west side of town, but you're kind of on
side,
opposite
yep.
sides of the city, so it made sense to me.
We picked up Northern Kentucky, which is what we were shooting for.
Right.
When we were looking at Northern Kentucky, there's a lot of big groups of pockets of international people down there. And it's only 8 miles across the bridge, so it's real
Right.
close. And, the only thing that we were looking for during the whole process was we wanted to be close to a highway and close to the exit.
Yeah.
And this mall was there. So, there was a lot of people that helped put this together. But the Facebook page was fun to watch.
Oh, I'm sure.
And just, going, we'll never go there. We're looking somewhere else. And I did meet Greg later after we opened. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, is he still working in like that end of the game?
know.
I don't know. All right.
I
Well,
don't know.
sorry about your luck, Greg.
Nice
You're
guy.
not important to the story anymore. We cut you out in the second half.
Poor Greg.
Do you have any favorite things that you've done or accomplished at Eastgate there? I mean, I feel like you're generally proud of the things you've done in both stores in a cool way.
Yeah.
You always have fun little anecdotes anyway.
I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff over there. If you haven't been over there in a while, it's changed since we've opened. We didn't even open with the seafood department open. We didn't have time.
Oh, really? That's funny.
There were a lot of areas that were unfinished. We just needed to open. We hit this September 25th date and said, we got to, we had starting to do the math backwards from the holidays. We got to, if we're going to get through this, we got to open right around that date.
Right.
So that's what we were shooting for, whether some of the departments were ready or not. So,
Oh, wow.
And then, as the 10 years have gone by, we've done a lot of work over there, inside and out.
Yeah.
Even collaborating with RJ Cinemas.
Sure.
And Rincon in the corner there with the restaurant, that whole area and they're bringing the ice skating rink in here shortly. I think it was delivered.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, no, start setting it up here because, man, winter's not far away.
It's always
When they said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I barely have a tan.
I know, seriously. I'm like, I have one more week to swim in the pool
I
out
know.
front.
So
All summer, I was like, I'm going to do a big grill out
Yeah.
special. And then like weeks just got away. And I realized that the other day when somebody reached out to me, they're like, do you still want to do your vegan grill out segment? I was like, yeah, but probably next year now because I don't know what happened to 2022.
we grill all year, but
Yeah, right. I like your style.
So, looking at the mall as a whole beyond just the store, we started bringing in tenants and, that's evolved as well. And I think there's only one space where Jimmy Johnson moved out. They moved across the street and they wanted a drive-through. So we have 4 or 5 people that want that space, which is really cool, considering when we got there, nobody wanted to be in Eastgate at all.
Right. Yeah.
So it was
But we
hard.
bring that kind of heat, right? And so people
Yeah.
like and people are like, oh, can I get a little of
We
that
had no,
juice?
we had no idea we would be that one domino that would, trigger everything that has happened around there. It's pretty neat. Looking back, there were a lot of people like, why are you going there? Well, we don't know, but it's really cool. And Ken's on board, so.
Yeah. I kind of feel like wherever we went or do go or whatever the future is, I think that's always going to be the case.
I don't know. I would hope so, but there's still a lot of work to make that happen.
Oh, I'm sure. Don't get me wrong. But it's one of those things that I think when that does come together anywhere, right? I mean, Eastgate's a great example of it,
Right.
where it's like, we just have this little bit of flavor and funk. And,
Right.
it's
It's hard to find that much junk, to build around.
I was like, are you telling me that giant machine shop wall that's
Oh,
in
no.
the pet department over there was not easy to find?
One of the ideas came up yesterday. I'm not going to say what it is because it'd be really cool at Eastgate if we can pull this off. So,
Yeah. We'll save it for off the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually came up just out of the blue yesterday, and we were all like, that actually has some merit.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
See, I love it when you get excited about that. I'm like, and I'm going to find out what it is, folks, and I'm not going to tell you. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'll just tease you until it happens.
We're always looking for ideas and different, concepts and what have you.
Sure.
Eastgate was, challenging because we had never done a second store, so we didn't know what we were doing. But the township and the county were very gracious in how they worked with us and let us build as we build and do our thing. As long as we complied with what they wanted as well, obviously. But it took probably longer because we were doing it that way because we didn't have drawings going into it. We were designing as we were going.
Yeah.
Departments as if they were tenant spaces as we were submitting them for permits. So yeah, we had a general concept, and then we just started on department by department, and people are always emailing, hey, put a store here, and I'm like, that store has no underground.
Right.
You have no idea. The refrigeration and freezers that go.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And it's all those things that people are like, I would have been one of them too. Now I still would be maybe one of them, but I feel like I know just enough to
you looked at the model upstairs and you're like, whoa, what is going on?
I still think, I tell that story to people all the time. I was like, I'd known these people for all of about an hour and a half at this point. They're like, you want to see this model? I'm like, I think it was my second interview. And I just remember being like, whoa, there's a physical model here to look at. One, that was the part that blew me away. I was like, all right, they're going to pull up a picture on Phil's computer. And then it was like, no, there's this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, well, people can walk in there and look at it without me having to be there and have the computer on.
Yeah, and you can actually, in a weird way, as I'm talking about the design of this room, for example, it really gave me an idea of the scale and space. Right. And I remember my first thoughts when I left, I was like, why are they giving me this much room? But it worked out great. Look. Now I'm like, oh, maybe I neted more.
I need a second floor.
Yeah, I was like, Phil, where's the water line in here? I need a sink.
It is right there, actually.
Is it really? I thought so every so often. I was like, I don't know what Graders is up to out there, but it sounds very wet.
You need a window to their.
I want a second, just one window right over here so I can talk to their customers. Yeah, exactly.
I need a milkshake.
Yeah, double chocolate chip. I don't know how to say words anymore.
What else do I have on my
notes? I was going to say, what else do we have on the sheet of notes here?
Let's see. I got my notes covered. Yeah.
Oh, cool. No, I think you nailed it, honestly. This is great. And I it's so cool. Are we doing anything is there any event or anything? Okay, that's what I thought was going to happen. Do you know the deets on that?
Because of this, I'm not as involved.
That's okay. You know what we'll do? We'll find
out.
I know
there's a Touch the Truck with the township. They're putting that together this year.
Oh, cool. That's right, because we talked about that last year too.
Yeah,
that was great.
Touch the Truck is awesome.
Yeah,
it really is. If you have children, especially, bring them out there. They eat that up.
Oh yeah.
And then that's going to be later in the day, and then Crossroads has an event going on with some different things, and then the fireworks later. In fact, Josie's at the meeting right now.
Oh, perfect. So maybe here's what we'll do is, chances are, everybody watching this, I'll be running the actual date and information under us talking about the section.
It's going to be publicized everywhere.
That'll be fun, too.
Yeah, every year we've done fireworks except one for the last 5 or 6 years. So
cool. And I missed them last year. I forget why. I was gone or something was happening. Yeah. I think I was at a jazz festival because I'm telling myself I'm cultured.
Yeah, Rosie's does the fireworks. So
it's going to be amazing. Awesome. Of course, yeah. Now that would be that's an interview we should get.
I got to push a button one year.
Oh, what? Oh, Phil, you're just living my dreams right now. I was
artillery.
You cut ribbons. You've been pushing explosive buttons. I want your life.
But I was in artillery for 12 years. So,
sure. So you have a little expertise in the background.
Shooting rounds downrange. Yeah, I never got to pull a lanyard on the howitzer.
No, but
I got to shoot fireworks.
If that's got to be got to be Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'll be a lot of fun.
There's definitely plans for Eastgate even beyond this. Even though it's been 10 years, we're still not done. We want to remodel seafood. It gets so congested in there. We're going to do some more work in that space.
I love it.
And the meat service case needs a little bit of tweaking as well.
I feel like you're like our business's flow mad scientist. I imagine you're always tinkering,
oh yeah.
How can you improve? But
Dexter.
But I feel like in a really cool way, right? Where you're just you seem look, Phil, you're clearly genuinely excited about this, which is why I always love talking to you about this stuff, because I'm I'm gonna get caught up in it. I'm assuming you all are gonna get caught up in it, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So when people see me on the Segway, they start, what are you guys working on now?
Yeah.
Or what's going on there?
Well, hopefully I'll have you do all these exclusives on the show. So anytime they ask, we'll just have you back on.
Now that I can get around a little bit more, it's a lot easier.
Well, I guess a good thing I'll say this here: come out to the fireworks event once we get it publicized. As I said, I'll probably be at the Eastgate store, right? I'll be setting off fireworks by myself in the Fairfield parking lot, much to the chagrin of the Fairfield Police Department. I'm joking.
He's getting stay calm.
Yeah, please come to Eastgate, but I'll come hang out with you all there, and that'd be fun. I want to touch a truck, so
yeah.
I'm
you
actually
want to ride the fire
secretly-
truck or drive the helicopter?
Phill, if you can if I can just sit in the helicopter to throw
they're
a
there
photo
for
up,
it.
I'd be waiting.
Oh, they'll be there.
That's awesome.
I think Air Care's been there every year, so
Perfect. I'm in.
yeah, they're awesome.
Phill, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming down here.
Have
Oh my
fun,
gosh,
Mark.
yeah, I will. I plan to. Thank you. And you know what? I love that that's your sign off, and I love that you always encourage that out of all of us. And I'll say this: I just hit my 1 year with everybody.
Whoa.
Right?
That's awesome.
And I've been having a lot of fun. So thanks for being a huge part of that.
Good job.
Truly. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it, Phill. Awesome. Well, we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes,
Awesome. Heal up.
yes, almost there.
Hey, Phill, thanks so much for your time. I love getting to learn about the store, and you always have a lot of fun anecdotes. And of course, everyone watching or listening right now, hey, send me an email, podcast@JungleJyms, if you have more questions about Eastgate, or if you just want to know more about the show or anything like that. Literally, I just want to make friends and talk to you. And, you know, if I can't answer the questions myself, I will do my best to get the information for you. So right now, I'm standing over here in produce, 1.5 acres of it right now, hanging out with some heirloom tomatoes because we're coming up to the last bit on the show, so this is the last you'll hear from me directly right now. And I'm joined by St. Mary St. Michael, a folk band, and their singer and main driving force behind the band, Tyler, loves to come to Jungle Gyms, and he shops for all these ingredients to make this special salsa. So today we went out with him, and he's going to teach us how to make salsa, and we're going to close the show out with a performance from them. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the studio today. This is a fun segment. I think I pitched to all of you a little while back that I love having musical guests and comedians and things of that nature on here, but I wanted to take a little spin on it. So my pal Tyler here gave me a great pitch, so I invited him and his band, St. Mary St. Michael, in. So we're joined by Tyler and Michael.
Thank you.
Hey,
Are you the saint?
He is.
Well, we'll say that for now. We'll debate it later.
I'm way into it. So before we dive in a little bit, the pitch here really was that you make an awesome salsa, right? Like,
I
tell me
make
about
a salsa. Yeah. So a couple years now. At one point, my wife started growing heirloom tomatoes. And if you've grown tomatoes, you can't consume them fast enough. They just keep growing. And so we're like, we don't even know what to do with all this. So I was like, well, let me make salsa. And I took about a couple years of experimenting where I just threw random shit in. And then this was the first, I actually wrote it down. Like, this is what I think makes the most approachable salsa, while also giving you the flexibility to do whatever you want with it.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you make that too. And before we really dive into that, tell me a little bit about the band, guys. Like, sell
my band.
And I got to give you a quick shout out before you start that you are rocking my Coachella shirt.
Coachella.
This is my merch I made during COVID at the beginning of the pandemic. I was like, all of the music, because at the time I was doing music festival coverages on my old show, and then my
There
entire
were no
year
music festivals.
Oh my gosh, it like killed my old job pretty much. I was like, oh cool. Well, I still love Radio Artifact, but I had nothing to do. So I was like, oh, let's make a t-shirt. So thank you for buying one.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
buy local. Find your people that live in your city and buy their stuff.
I still really want to see emotional battle royale set. I'll see if I have the art. I can put it up so you guys can read the bands. I thought it was funny. Anyway, tell me about the band.
Yeah, so I am from Nashville. Well, originally Knoxville. Got my audio engineering degree outside of Nashville. Mm-hmm. Moved up here, knew everything. So I started writing a couple songs just because I had nothing to do but write music. The band name comes from a girl that I am very dear to my heart, Mary Michael. That's what she goes by, Mary Michael. You have to call her Mary Michael, not Mary.
Okay.
So one day we were joking around. I said, well, if you were sainted, would you Saint Mary or Saint Michael? And she goes, Saint Mary, Saint Michael sounds like an indie band name. And I went, okay, well, dibs, it's mine. And then in 2016, me and my wife moved into Pleasant Ridge. On the Facebook page, which is largely people complaining about, the homeless people down the street or whatever. But Michael is a cellist. He is a music teacher, and he went onto the Facebook page advertising his services as a teacher. And I play cello, so I ended up messaging. I said, "Well, I don't want to hire you as a teacher, but I'm a songwriter. I'd love to get some quick demos, just of more than just me playing."
Yeah.
Come over. So he did. We recorded like 5 or 6 demos.
Yeah, up in the The upstairs bunk bedroom.
The
that
bunk
you had.
bedroom.
Yeah.
So as far as I was concerned, St. Mary, St. Michael required a cellist forever now. But he's also a songwriter. So now, I mean, for what, 6 years or so now, I play with him, he plays with me. We used to pay each other back and forth until we were just like, I think that $100 bill came from me anyway. It's like you don't need to pay me that money back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the band. We write sad music, and that's kind of
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what would you describe the genre as? Because I always feel like this is a fun answer.
it's a fun answer, right? I mean, I say indie folk is kind of like indie folk rock. I throw out bands like the Decemberists or Frightened Rabbit that I get a lot of my inspiration from. But if people are like what style indie folk, if my on the nose is I write sad boy music.
Yeah,
you know,
it's emo folk.
look at
to
me. I'm a bearded, white, tattooed man.
Yeah. So what brewery do you
Yeah,
work at?
exactly. And so, you know, when I say, "Oh, I'm a songwriter," whatever image comes to your mind, that's probably what I write.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of Dashboard Confessional as a go-to starting point as
Yeah.
sad music. You know.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not quite as whiny.
No, you're not as
No,
whiny.
it's like you take that.
I say I like it.
Yeah, you add a little like you take that and you wheel it back to like the 1800s a little bit. You know what I
That's
mean?
my
You're like,
thing.
There's like a sounds of wagons in the back.
Hells yeah, man. So yeah, that's kind of what we do.
That's cool.
And so Michael's also he's from Arizona. Arizona's
Oh, yeah, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona.
stomping ground.
Cool.
And so, and his whole family's musical. So again, you know, lots of music. And originally we lived down the street from each other. So like I said, we were around each other a lot. So
That's
there
awesome.
you go.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm excited about it. And last plug in the meantime is where can people look you up? To get some
Anywhere.
music?
I mean, obviously streaming services. If you're into the support local stuff, Bandcamp's kind of the way to go.
What's
that way.
is it just ST?
ST period. So Saint Mary, comma's important.
Yep.
Saint Michael. And then if you Google it, you need to type band, or else you'll get a list of Catholic churches.
Right. I remember you joked to
I'm
me
not
once.
that.
Yeah, you were like, I decided to make a band name that was the most impossible thing
Yeah,
to
like
Google.
you just, you know, even on Spotify, you'd think no, because then there's like St. Mary's Cathedral Choir, and you're
Right.
like,
Which, you know, in their own right, that's fine.
awesome, but
Yeah, and I'll just say that Tyler Carson is like, if you ever see that name under mixing, recording, that's his actual name. And then my name is Michael Ronstadt, and I play cello and stuff.
Michael G. Ronstadt is where you look up his stuff, which you should.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll put some lower thirds in for us, too.
Hells
So it should
yeah.
be good. So, well, in that case, you guys want to start making the salsa?
Let's do salsa. Yeah.
And while you're starting to put stuff together, I'm going to give a shout out. I'm actually give a shout out to a guy I used to play music with frequently. I just saw here the other day. He's now part of the Breadsmith family named Nick Triantos. And Nick used to be in the grocery game. He used to work for one of our competitors, Fresh Time Markets. Lovely people. But Nick got me hip to these donkey chips, which I think are some of the best tortilla chips that we sell here in the store. So I'll give you a nice close shot of that. Donkey brands. Here's the thing. You were mentioning this beforehand.
Yeah.
People sleep on the chip portion of chips and salsa. And
It's half the game.
yeah, it really is. I always forget if it's at this tear. Nope, it's not. They have a cut to open. But the catch to me is I always want a chip that has like good consistency, a little thickness, and it holds up in the salsa.
Correct.
You know?
why I pushed this to you was salsa's such an like staple ingredient of parties and everything else.
Yeah.
But people I hate store-bought salsa. I hate
Me
it.
too. It's never good. It's like
It's
just wet.
never there's good enough.
Right.
But I don't like that. And restaurant salsa, you know, like look, that's fucking salt.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Tub of salt.
Yeah, it's really. This is really. I'm excited about
We'll
this.
get to that.
Yeah, we flexed on all the ingredients. I'm just getting everything ready on
But
this
yeah,
side.
I love restaurant style salsa, but like I also am not a huge fan of like the American Mexican restaurants.
Sure.
Like
No, same.
you know. So where do you make like interesting salsa? And it's like cheap. It is not expensive at all.
Yeah.
So we'll start from the base ingredients: tomatoes.
Yep. You went with the heirlooms today. Yeah.
I prefer heirlooms. So again, that's kind of this was dependent on my wife growing heirloom tomatoes.
Yeah.
I find they're meatier. They hold up. They don't liquefy quite as quickly.
Sure.
And especially, so I will make one little thing. Roasting is like a big thing for me. Obviously, we don't have a roaster here.
Right. I'm no longer allowed to have a giant open flame
right.
here. I used
For
to keep
some
the
reason.
oil can of fire
Yeah,
just in
I'm
here.
sure that, but the guy's fine now, right? You can barely tell.
I'm legally not allowed to tell. Yeah, I'm only burnt about the breast, neck, chest, face, and head.
Fine,
So.
Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so like I have a gas stove. When we bought our house, that was like a requirement. I like open flame cooking.
Sure.
So basically, the only things that I don't normally roast are the onion and the cilantro, because I find that when and I talk like roast them black, right?
Right.
Because when you get that heat of all the peppers, adding, it's not a smoky flavor. I'll say I'm not smoking, but just kind of that when it
like
that
the
gives it
charred
that
flavor.
Yeah, it just really
that's that depth of flavor they talk about on the Food Network all the time.
Exactly.
You know?
It's
the Maillard
it's less
reaction.
one dimensional. So anyways, roasting is important, I think. But we're gonna do. I didn't start by roasting, so the original recipe was all pure. Just get the ingredients. So tomatoes. I like heirlooms. I'm sure you can do it. I might give you the list so people can see it.
Yeah, if you do, that'd be great. Yeah, we can put it on.
Make your own recipe, right? But I start with, I like heirlooms. In a pinch, you can do like the Roma tomatoes or whatever. Right.
They're just going to
why I like Jungle Gems, because the other competitors, right? Yeah. A lot of store-bought tomatoes are just not flavorful tomatoes, and they're just filler for the salsa, and I don't want that. And so if you can't get the heirlooms, the Amish tomatoes are killer here as well.
Yep.
That was the first time I got offered, like someone said, can you make me this and I'll buy it from you, was with the Amish tomatoes.
Sure.
But big, beefy tomatoes, especially, I say the uglier the better. Once they start splitting and all that, man, I just think that makes for a killer tomato.
Sweet,
so anyways, Amish or heirloom tomatoes if you got it. I also made the mistake early on, and it took me a while to unlearn it. A lot of people like dice up their ingredients before they throw it on there. Don't do that. I like to, if you throw them in with the chunks, I find that by the time the blender gets to it, it leaves it chunkier. Yeah. And this recipe, it depends on if you want to make some and have throughout the week, or if you just, I want a night of salsa.
Right.
But if you want it to last, I typically double this, and I'll put it in a big Tupperware, and I'll just have salsa throughout the week.
Yeah, sure.
But by day 4 or something, if you chopped everything up so fine,
I was gonna say, you want me to pop it open?
We can go ahead and put the blender there now.
Ooh, the blender's has been staged, folks. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think I just loosened up the seal. There we go.
There we go.
How many musicians does it take?
How many musicians does it take? But yeah, so if you leave the whole chunks in there, it doesn't liquefy over time as bad.
Cool.
And I find, watery salsa is just not the most appealing of things.
It's for me, I always try to find a happy medium between them where you're like, I want it.
I don't want pico de gallo.
Right, exactly. And I feel like there's like, in my experience, usually you either get one or the other. You either get like straight liquid, which I guess if I had to prefer, I would go that route because the pico is like it, like the right.
So yeah, but like I said, if you can chunk it up, then it lasts a little bit longer. So there you go. The onion, I use white onion. You asked which one. I obviously preference here, but if I'm using onion cooked, I typically will favor a yellow.
Okay. A little sweeter.
A little sweeter.
Yep.
If I'm using an onion raw and it's to mix into an ingredient, I like white. If it's like on a salad or something, I actually favor red.
Yeah.
I feel like white is the onion flavor that people think about as onion.
Okay.
And when you're putting all these very flavorful things in, it helps kind of give it that like fresh onion bite without, But
I did a whole thing with on Christian Gill's show a year or two ago where we went through all the different onion types.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, this is so fun. And it was funny leading into it. I always remembered red onion being so pungent in flavor.
Yeah.
And then when I finally tried it again, like raw compared to the other two, I was like, oh, it's like barely different.
Yeah, it's barely different. Another thing, just, we're on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I like to say the reason I got such a good ingredient list is you're supposed to taste your ingredients. So the heirloom tomato.
Take a little bite.
Everyone always I don't know. I had a Mickey Mouse cassette of songs, silly songs. Mm-hmm. And one of them the chorus was homegrown tomatoes, what'll I be without homegrown tomatoes? Only 2 things that money can't buy, that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
That's funny.
And I was like, whatever, I hate tomatoes. And then as I started getting into tomatoes, then realized like an actually well-grown tomato you can eat as candy.
Right.
Store-bought tomato. So taste your ingredients. You don't need to taste white onion. We all know what white onion tastes like. Tomatillo. Now, polarizing. My dad loves salsa verde.
It's so good. It's so good.
It is.
When it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
When it's not, it's not.
Right.
And so I didn't grow up loving salsa verde because I grew up without a lot of good, fresh, whatever.
Yeah.
But I did find without the tomatillo, here we go. Everyone taste. So tomatillo has a little bit of that sour.
Yeah. A little bite to it.
So good.
It's almost like a citrus note.
Right, exactly. Like it's not a green tomato.
Right.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And on its own, I really don't like it.
Yeah.
But
I actually am surprised how much I do like it.
Right,
It's
it's a very distinct thing.
Yeah.
And I never loved it.
Sure.
But then when I was making salsas, and if I didn't throw one in, I talk about dimensions in your cooking. It gives it an excitement. It's like a whiskey where like people hate rye whiskey sometimes, but on like a bourbon, just a little bit of it really makes an exciting drink. It's the same idea. So a single tomatillo, they're hard to shop for because they're usually covered.
Right.
I've come home with moldy tomatillos. I typically go with I like a firmer one because it's not the main ingredient. I don't need it to be quite so ripe.
Sure.
But anyways, peppers though, this is really where my salsa is different than a lot of salsas.
Yeah.
It's more pepper based. It's not just a couple jalapenos, call it a day. Buy like every pepper you can find and taste it.
Yeah.
Because it changes things. So like what I say, you got to have jalapeno because when people think fresh pepper taste,
that's the flavor you think
it's
of.
It's jalapeno. And now there's kind of a common misnomer that the heat comes from the seeds.
Yeah.
That's not like true at all. The
Really?
heat comes from everything.
Right.
Why people say heat comes from the seeds is where you're using more of the thing.
Right.
Of course, it's going to be spicier.
Sure.
Capsaicin is like a defense mechanism. Don't eat me because it hurts you.
Right.
And we were like, I'll eat 3 of them.
Right.
But you can gut it. You can leave it all in.
And that's the Serrano you're
this
cutting
is a
right
Serrano
now, right?
I'm cutting now. So jalapeno, as everyone knows jalapeno. Why I like Serrano?
Yeah.
Well, here, let me get everything chopped up real quick, and we'll taste, and I'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be giving you very little bites. I'd like to keep the heartburn in check
for sure.
until we eat it.
For sure.
Because it's weird how together, no problem.
But exactly. No, I get it. So here we got now, just so you can start just a little bit
little pina.
Little pina there. Jalapeno is your pepper flavor.
Yep.
So good.
And I got into it. There's an incredible Vietnamese restaurant, Phill, up near where I live.
Right.
And they like use.
It's also the funniest name place.
And
yeah.
they did that on purpose, believe it or not.
I was wondering
I
that
asked
forever.
them, and I did because I was like, "Come on, guys!" And they're like, oh, "Yeah, the way if you speak Vietnamese, it sounds
right." It's like fuck him.
fuck
I'm
me."
going to show my weakness.
Yeah.
A little bit with the salty chip.
So fresh jalapeno is like my favorite thing in the universe.
Yeah.
Sammy's, the burger joint.
Oh, and Blue Oyster, yeah.
We'll do a fried jalapeno on top of one of the burgers. Oh my god.
This is Serrano we're doing next.
This is Serrano. Oh, let me get you another one. The Serrano pepper I like a lot because
that's got a little funk in there. That's interesting.
it's different. It's not it's a more unique pepper taste. It's not wholly unlike the jalapeno.
It's more jalapeno than
Correct.
jalapeno.
Right. It's got a little bit more heat to it.
And the back end is really nice on the heat too.
Correct.
I like it.
Someone just told me you experience like heat in the front of your mouth. So a lot of people slurping cultures, it's to get it back without burning the front.
Right.
But like the heat of like taste heat hits
the
you in the
back,
back
yeah.
end. It's really weird. So anyways, habanero, jalapeno and Serrano, I use the whole thing.
Okay.
That's where I get a lot of the pepper flavor from.
Okay.
Now, here's where, again, you start picking and choosing why you should taste. Is habanero is the interesting one. People love habanero. They love habanero, or they're like, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn.
I'm going to hold on to habanero.
Yeah,
just
you
to
know
be
what
safe.
habanero tastes like. It's the sweet heat But it's
Just
also
in case, because it is sweet and it's
a
nice, but it's going to creep
slow
on you a little
burn.
bit. Yep.
And that's what's dangerous about this
please.
salsa.
He's going back for the chips.
He's going back. Now, the last one is the Anaheim.
Okay.
This is when people are like, that's an Anaheim.
Yeah.
This pepper is, it tricks you because it doesn't look like hella spicy.
Yeah.
And it's not. But then
Yeah.
it'll come forward. And this,
Oh, yeah. And like, that was funny almost.
it's not a slow burn. It's just delayed.
Yeah, you're just like, nothing. Oh, there it is. And it was like instant, like 0 to 100.
It's
That's
almost,
wild.
I liken the flavor to if a bell pepper was spicy.
Spicy. Yeah, that's beautifully said.
Growing up in Tucson, Arizona, all the chile rellenos at Mexican restaurants, like the good ones, have Anaheim. And out here they do poblano, but I
Right.
grew up in southern Arizona with Anaheim chili. So when you can find them, it's wonderful. And the spice range goes from, maybe some low level to
Right.
a high one. So it's
The
a
scales
wonderful
on those
chili.
are always so funny to me.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah. So it's worth noting that the basic recipe is half a habanero and half an Anaheim. And typically Anaheims are big peppers.
Right.
We're doing a mix up here. We're doing something a little different.
Yeah, so we got a little dried chipotle pepper that.
So,
there we go.
This is another, again, why you come to Jungle Gyms is a lot of this, you can't get this at like a Kroger. They had a dried, what was it? The guajillo pepper. And I was like, I'll throw that shit in. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It gave it this smoky flavor and no extra heat. But then you just can't find them all the time. And I
Right.
like the smoked peppers give it, I like it. You want to keep eating it now, right? It's an umami.
Yeah.
Now this one might be kind of weird, but
It's got some funk on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're delicious. We
We
tried
like-
them when we were doing the one of the other when we were doing some of the Vietnamese.
so how would
cooking
you?
forever ago.
What would you say is that flavor right there? Because chipotle is just a.
It's just a dried ancho pepper, I think,
Like
right?
a sweet
A lot of
smoke.
'em-
Sweet smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Sweet. It's like if it's the way I would if someone was like cherry wood. What's that taste like? That's almost a ballpark, right? It's not cherry, but it's like
But yeah,
Hard
you
to
get
chew.
that wood flavor,
Right. It's
which
great.
makes people. That's why
I think
people
that's
like
going to be one of
whiskey.
those things that adds a lot of depth to this whole thing in general.
So I love it. I think you
Yeah.
know having weird peppers, as I was explaining to you off the air, but the drummer for Sepia Heyday,
Yeah,
her name is Motherfucking Chainsaw.
nice.
No, Michelle, she grows peppers, and she would just be like, "Hey, here's a bunch of Fresno peppers. Make a salsa," and
Yeah.
it would completely change everything. It's like a sweet salsa.
Sure.
So there you go. Throwing cool stuff, but I like the smoky there. Now the garlic, 1 clove of garlic.
Cool. Yeah, I've read the memes, but as much as
There's
you want
never
there.
enough garlic,
I
right?
agree.
I will say though, because of all the delayed heat and all that other stuff,
Yeah.
that garlic flavor will stick with you, and
Cool.
everyone will know about it. And again, I roast the garlic as well. I
Sure.
love roasted garlic.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. So far I got 2 heirloom tomatoes. I actually threw in the whole tomatillo, and I don't think I want to do that. I'm just seeing this. The thing says a whole tomatillo, but
You're
this is
gonna
a
go
big
half?
tomatillo. No, I had 3/4. Okay. It's just a big tomatillo.
Sure.
And then half an Anaheim pepper, 1 jalapeno, 1 serrano, and half a habanero.
Cool.
And we threw the whole chipotle. Now, I typically double, like I said, I double this recipe.
Sure.
Fun fact, if you're doubling it and you don't have a fucking massive food processor who can handle it all,
Right.
make 2 separate batches.
Sure.
Because if you do, like I'll do all the tomatoes and whatever, it actually, there's something about when it's mixing up. It just doesn't sit the same.
Sure. Yeah.
So, lime juice, everyone.
You just doing half a lime?
I'm gonna do a whole lime.
Cool. Juice of a whole lime.
If you don't do the lime, the acidity citrus helps preserve things longer.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps the flavor. But whenever you taste, like, it sounds like so racist, but like bad Mexican food. Like, there's so many great Mexican restaurants in town. There's so
yeah,
many
but when you
not
say
good
it's
ones.
not racist because it's usually
It's like
American.
bad, yeah,
Mex-
it's like
You know what I
American
mean?
Mex,
That's right.
like Tex-Mex. When it's kind of boring, where's the fucking lime?
There we go.
Have you ever had guacamole without lime?
It's,
I can't
It's
even
avocado
imagine.
toast.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with me? So whole lime.
Cool. And by the way, we're getting close on time, so
Yeah.
keep it
We're
going.
almost done now.
Cool.
So after that, cilantro, I say 5 sprigs. Fucking do as much as you want.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Some people, my mother-in-law hates cilantro,
Yeah.
you gotta hide it for her, right? But you can.
and I actually use the stems.
Okay.
Okay.
I like the
are so
stems.
good.
If you don't have most of the flavor comes from the stems.
And like the cilantro is just one of those things. I feel bad for people who have that bad
That
flavor
soap
reaction,
taste,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm like, oh, sorry to be. So I'm like, I'm as somebody with a physical handicap, I'm sitting there looking down.
yeah,
at them.
like you jokers. So talk about this salt.
Yeah, so let me talk about the salt. So this is from this brand called Have Snow. Probably mispronouncing that, but it is a hand-harvested artisan salt from the cold, clean Norwegian Sea. It's really flaky. I got hip to it from seafood, and I've been buying it for everything now, and it's like the only salt I use. It's really flaky and thick. What do you usually put salt-wise in here?
So-
it's like a fat pinch?
Yeah.
Here, because you've got the, yeah. Yeah, I was like, no, don't
Just
tell me the whole
just
bucket.
a fat, yeah, like a fat pinch
Fat
of it.
pinch? Cool, let's
I
do it.
typically use like the Himalayan pink salt when I do it from a grinder. So yeah, just there. Put a little in a little
Yeah, you
thing.
bet.
I want to taste this salt. You want a little bit of that? What is this? Nordic.
Norwegian. Yeah, so
Oh yeah.
harvested from the Norwegian Sea. I didn't know I could love salt. You know what I
this is
mean?
good.
It's
Yeah.
it's a saltier.
It's a saltier salt.
And then cumin, finally. So we
Yeah.
did pepper, I did salt. I hate cumin. Cumin's the cheap Mexican food taste.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Right.
But I found if you don't do at all, you do lose some of that.
A little of the, yeah, I get it.
But like I'm talking
You've got like a pinch
fucking
in there.
nothing. Maybe
Yeah.
a smidge more because it stuck to me.
Yeah.
But like
Perfect.
just enough to like put it in there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then where are we at? I think that's everything. So now, how much you grind it up, blend it up, whatever's up to you. I have found on this one, do the chop or the grate.
Okay. Here we go.
And the problem is sometimes. Uh-oh. Did I? There we go. Sometimes it's too chunky and you kind of have to
Sit there and mash it up a little
mash
bit.
it in there. But once it gets going, it's usually pretty. There we go. As I make a mess on your.
It's all
on your
good.
table.
We'll clean it up
It's
in
a
between
food
the
show.
shots. Yeah.
How many musicians?
There we go. There we go. All right. That's it.
All right, we're done. We,
We
post
blended
blender.
it. All right. And
Looking
then
good, baby.
pour that in there again. This makes not a little bit. Now,
Get some chips, boys.
come in, Alf. You can get in here, dude, Mr. Cameraman. So what you're gonna taste is, you should notice an immediate difference just from the heirloom tomatoes alone.
Oh yeah, the tomato actually has a flavor in there.
Right, and like a pleasant one, not
Yeah.
like I went to Subway.
I think of the there's that King of the Hill episode where, oh my gosh, I can't believe I left my water on the table. There's that King of the Hill episode,
Yeah.
where Hank goes to the local food co-op and he finally tries tomatoes, and Bobby's like, "Oh my gosh, these tomatoes are delicious." And he's like, "What do you mean tomatoes don't have flavor?" You know?
But they do it. I will say for this one, you either like or don't. You can definitely taste more tomatillo.
I like that. It's got a little funk on it. Get that. The
I
cilantro
would have
comes
pulled
through clean.
less, but like my dad would love the more tomatillo for it.
Yeah,
Surprisingly,
This is very good.
yeah.
we could do it on a second smoked chipotle.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
It's a little buried.
But it's still, you get a little of that note.
Yeah, it's just there. But yeah, like I said, I mean, this is something that I put in a Tupperware. I leave it in my fridge all week. Put on my eggs. Put on whatever you want to put them on.
And you know, we put a lot of spice in there, but the flavor on it, it's
there.
not super spicy. It's there, but it's not like
it will for sure, like, if you ate this like you do at a Mexican restaurant where you're like, okay, my meal's out and I just ate a bunch of salsa,
Right.
like, you'll feel the heat by the end
I've
of
got
it.
a little heat coming in, but it's
Yeah.
still not as bad as I would have anticipated based purely on what we put in there.
Right, and
You
it
know?
doesn't take over other, like, if you put it on a meal, it doesn't take over.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get buried either. So, yeah, there you go. I was telling Lucky, you know, I had one, you could basically, I take out the tomatoes, put mangoes in it, and now it's a hyper sweet mango.
Or just maybe a couple pieces
salsa.
or something. They're a little
depending on what you want. And so this I found I like this because it's a good base with which to go. But I really like habaneros, and I don't really like jalapenos. Great, take the jalapenos out, put the habaneros
and go. It's perfect.
So, anyways,
that's great. It came out awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, so then in that case, do you guys want to play some music for me?
We would love to play some music for you.
All right, we'll wipe off the table, and then it's going to be a nice transition effect.
I'm standing in the middle of yet another crowd. I feel my eyes get heavy. All I want is sleep. Looking on a sea of empty faces, filled with hopes and fear. The tables shifting round, louder than I'd care. Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there at all? I drift along the current, I scream my silent question. No one seems to notice that I just want to feel the fingerprints of warm hands, knowing that you hear me. You listen to my story, help me carry on. Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there at all? Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there at all? I just want to sleep. I just want to feel. And I just need to know. Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there at all? Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there at all?
The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.